Greetings YouTube, and welcome to my next gear review. Today we're taking a look at the Harnds Harvest. Now I think you say it that way. It's H-A-R-N-D-S. And those four consonants in a row throw me off a bit. So if anybody knows if I'm saying that wrong, please correct me. And it is called the Harvest, and there's a little code, and it's going to come as a real shock. It was made in China. And we have some documentation, a little card telling you what it is, and a little catalog, which will both be getting recycled because I don't need to keep them. And here we have the knife in question. One of the first three things that attracted me to this is its color. I don't have a yellow knife, or I didn't have a yellow knife. Now I have a yellow knife, as well as this inset here, the kind of washer underneath the fastener, which is blue, and I really like those two colors. And at the time of this recording, blue and yellow is a very pertinent color because there is currently war crimes being committed against the nation of Ukraine. So you're going to notice that it's got G10 scales. They have a nice little pattern carved into it. It has semi-open construction. This is a G10 spacer, and the G10 spacer is also your lanyard hole, and that's large enough to get paracord through if that is your thing. I don't really use them. Nick Shabazz refers to the lanyard hole mafia because there seems to be people feeling a need that there has to be a lanyard hole on all pocket knives. And I have to kind of agree with them. There are some knives that just don't need them, and I think it detracts from the design. I don't have a dog in this particular fight. I think it would look fine if this was not there, and it looks fine that it is there. We have two-position pocket clip, tip-up carry, which is how you should always carry your knives. Tip-down carry is just silly in my book. So if, as far as deployment is concerned, because this is a flipper, this is universal, though this is a liner lock, so it is designed, the liner lock portion is designed for someone who is right-handed. So let's pop that puppy out. And I like the profile as well as the color. So we have a flat grind. I don't know if you'd call this a full flat grind or not, because from here up it is a full flat grind, and from here down it is not a full flat grind. And it came out of the box with a reasonable edge. The belly is actually a smidge sharper than the straight edge down here. It's quite comfortable. The one thing I did notice is that the edges on the G10 are crisp. They're not sharp, they're crisp. And some people, myself included, do tend to prefer the corners on your G10 to be a little bit more rounded, but this is not a deal breaker in my book. It is not sharp enough to be an issue. It's got jimping here, here, and on the flipper itself. And I have to tell you, I think the jimping is a little bit aggressive. The jimping here is the least aggressive, and that's good because that's the spot you're going to be putting, like, if you're ever going to have to do that, putting pressure, you can do that. If you really want to choke up on this, you can, but that's not a big space, so I'd be careful with it. But if you really need to do some up close kind of work, maybe you're making feather sticks or something for fire starting, you could do that. But this is a very comfortable. Or also, if you're doing a scalpel grip, it's also very comfortable. As I said, it's a liner lock. The liners are inset into the scales, which is a nice touch. They are not skeleton knives, which I think is an issue. I prefer them because it lightens up the knife a little. It's got some nice cutout here, so when you're deploying the flipper, your finger actually can go. You actually fits in there, so it means you're really going to make sure that you have deployed that flipper to its fullest extent, which is a nice touch in my book. It has a cutout for your liner lock. So this scale is, cutout is deeper than that one. And because of that, I just don't think you need jimping at all, let alone jimping that I feel is just, is too aggressive. It's too sharp. It's not going to cut you or anything. But if you're doing this a lot, like, let's be honest, if you're a knife person, you play with your knives. And this right here would wear. Can you hear it? I just think it's a little aggressive. And I think it's unnecessary because we have that nice cutout. You're going to be able to get to that liner without a problem. So it's not quite drop close, but it's not bad either. It deploys nicely out of the box. No issues whatsoever with that. Oh, and it's got the little H there for Harnds on the pivot. I think that's kind of a nice logo. I think they did good. Their design team did a good job there. I find overall it's a solid build. You have about a 30% lock up with the liner lock. There's no play in either direction on the knife, which is awesome. You have... Let me get that in a spot where you can... There you go. Decent centering. I don't think it's quite perfect, but it's so off by so little. It is not something that I would ever be considered worth my time in adjusting, particularly when it deploys that cleanly out of the box. I will admit the first few times I flipped it, it didn't flip quite as well, but after I carried it for a week, it was just fine, because I do tend to carry my blades at least a week at work before I decide to get around to doing the review. I like to have an idea of what can I do with the knife. Like, I wear gloves at work. Can I deploy this and close it with my gloves on? And the answer to this particular design is yes, I can in fact do that. Some knives I've carried, you can't, and if I can't use that, for me it's a deal breaker. Now, as far as the flipper is concerned, as I said, I think the jimping here is a little aggressive. I don't think you need the jimping. It's not a big flipper, freely admit that, but I really think that you could have gone much less aggressive on the jimping, or even skipped the jimping, because the deployment is smooth enough that I don't think it would have been an issue if that was just a smooth flipper like the other side is. I think it would have worked without any difficulty. So yeah, it's a solid little design. I like the aesthetic they put here into the scales. I like the sloping they did here. Again, I find the G10 is just a little bit too crisp for my taste, but that's very subjective. There's no sharp edges on it whatsoever. You're not going to hurt yourself. You're not going to worry about wear and tear. It's a nice knife in the sense it doesn't take up a lot of pocket real estate. It is actually a deep pocket carry clip. Cool. And I happen to say I like this fact that it doesn't have that the pocket clip with the slope going this way. It's got a folded tip, which gives it a much cleaner, and because it's tapered, it gives it a much visually lighter design, and I really do appreciate that. It looks clean in a way that a lot of pocket clips don't, because they have that kind of swoop on them. And it's a good retention, not too tight, not too loose. Came in on and off a pair of standard jeans without any problem whatsoever. And which I also appreciate. When the clip's too tight, it's like when you're pulling it out of your pocket and you're actually pulling your pant leg up, and that's annoying. Or you're trying to put it in your pocket and you're pushing your pants down because you're trying to get it to go on. That's not something I want. And this clip worked just beautifully, which I greatly appreciate. So yeah, so if you have are in the market for something that is a little unusual in the sense it's this yellow knife. If you haven't tried this company, I would recommend it. This is my second Harnds knife, and I've been impressed with both quality. It wasn't overly expensive. I think this is like in a $40 range. Yeah, I think it's $40. I picked this up with part of my tax return. I also ordered a Maori Patu made out of polymer, which I have not yet received. I'm looking forward to that. And there will be a review of that at some point on my channel. This is a good design in my book, and it's not a deal breaker as far as price is concerned. The company has been doing a good job. They obviously they know what they're doing as far as construction is concerned. I just think that they might want to dial the aggressiveness on their jimping down just a bit. You're at a 7. I need you at a 4 kind of thing. You know what I mean? And that would be just fine. I don't think there's anything else I need to talk about this knife. It worked beautifully. It doesn't give me any hassles. Oh, one thing I did have a question about, maybe something out there. If you look at this knife, does that say Harvest to you? Because I gotta be honest, it doesn't say Harvest to me. I know, just a little questioning on why you called this the Harvest, because it doesn't say that to me. I mean, lots of knives don't have names; they just have number codes, and that's fine. But if you're going to give a name to something, I think the name should have some kind of bearing on the blade itself, or the overall aesthetic. Because when I think harvest, I'm thinking an interior curving, sickle, scythe kind of thing. But, that's just me. Alrighty, so this has been the Harnds Harvest. Hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you come back for the next one.